Hi, my name is Todd Griffieth, General Manager, Technical Operations. Welcome to our live 2020 virtual Fab Tech event. I'll be talking about production robotic welding cells, myth versus fact. So 2020 has been a chaotic year to say the least. We've went through a lot this year in regards to business and economy shutdowns. We've been hit with remote operational demands. There are new safety requirements being tossed at us from both the federal and state levels. And maybe if you're lucky, like some of us, you're seeing a surging activity as some of the economy reopens. All of that ties into maybe a lot of hesitation, a lot of pondering, a lot of decision making, whether the move into robotic automation is a good decision for you. And hopefully in this presentation, I'll be able to convince you that now is the time to make that move. So now that we're entering the fourth quarter of 2020, the real question on everyone's mind may be, now what? All our businesses were impacted by this chaotic year. The reality is we all stare at the manufacturing PMIs and we see how they dipped in the spring. Very similar to what we saw 10 years ago in the recession. The optimistic part of all this is the rebounding of that manufacturing sector. So the real question is, how did all of this impact you? Was your business required to reduce or lay off your workforce? Did you suffer through order loss? Maybe you had the opportunity, like some businesses have, to adapt your business in support of emergency response or alternative markets that have come out of this pandemic. The question might be, are you prepared for what's next? If we're in a resurgence and it's going to stay consistent or get better, are you ready as a business to meet or exceed that pent-up demand that the market has experienced while all this has gone on? Are you in a position where you have to go out and try to recover some of that lost talent and skill, maybe skill that you developed over years that you now are forced to go find a brand new resource and start that all over again? Is your business poised for meeting demand right now, or do you have aging equipment and the need to consider upgrading things to be competitive and be financially capable of meeting the need? And then really, what did your competition do during this same time period? Are they prepared more or less than you are right now? As you look at all that, is there anything in your way that's holding you back from taking that next step? You know, there's still concerns on the economy, or are you uncertain about whether we're over the hump or still facing another phase of slowdowns? Is there a financial concern? You know, whether or not your business is able to invest in itself right now, or that customers will still be there to buy your product. And or maybe the simple question is, where do I even start? You know, if I want to take this next step, what's the first thing I even consider doing? Obviously, I can sit here and speak for, have you considered robotic automation? The reality of the fact is, have you personally witnessed the potential of what moving towards automation can do for your business? Have you seen the opportunity, or do you understand the opportunity of how it could enhance and or help to grow your business? Do you see the potential for creating new capabilities beyond what you're doing now? And have you considered how it might differentiate you from others in your market sector to allow you to take business, be more competitive and price competitive, and grow beyond who your competitors are. All those are factors that certainly are worthwhile in considering as we have this discussion about making the jump into robotic automation. Now, the intent of this session is to really start to talk about things related to making those steps and the myths that might exist out there, whether they be just perceptions or misconceptions about what moving to robotic automation actually means. I wanted to let you know that there's a live chat function during this session. At any time, if there is content that I've covered that you have questions or comments about, please feel free to ask questions, and our technical staff will be able to reply to you immediately. The first myth, which is probably the most common myth that I hear, is the one that robotic automation is simply too expensive. The reality with that is that price is not a barrier to entry to get into this arena. I think a lot of individuals would be surprised to learn that with a basic pre-engineered cell, such as any of these shown here, you could be into that field for between $70,000 and $80,000. It's a very price competitive entry that provides you with a solution that has complete safeguarding, complete safety, a robotic package, a welding package, and everything you need minus a weld fixture to get started. The next fact to combat the myth of robotic automation being too expensive is the fact that pre-engineered welding cells offer a variety and a flexibility that can be tailored to your business's specific needs. Now, the reality is, as shown here, you can configure these pre-engineered cells based on how your facility layout might require it, how your process flow may require it, the size of your parts, the specific process requirements needed. So the fact that folks might consider that I'm kind of pigeonholed into a very specific engineered solution that may not be flexible or adaptable for me down the road doesn't have to exist and doesn't exist anymore. The third fact that should be considered when you're evaluating why you feel robotic automation is too expensive is that you really should evaluate the true costs of your employees. And that isn't just salary and benefits. That's also looking at the cost of quality involved with the work those employees do, the consistency of work. So your cycle times, are you hitting your measurables every day, and the efficiencies. All of those factors have a cost adder that goes on top of the salary and benefits you provide to your employees. You want to look at that and evaluate that versus a true ROI evaluation, which is a service that we provide where we come into your facility and evaluate the part that you want or the parts that you want to consider evaluating for automation. We come in and basically do a part assessment where we factually look at the amount of welds, the length of welds, apply an average travel speed based on the joint profile and the requirements. We then factor that into your facility and look at how does your business operate, from working hours to number of parts involved to an operator efficiency standard and weld times. And then we roll that all together and summarize things to provide you with a cost, a part cost, and an ROI cost, which in this case, in this example, $125,000 system under these conditions has an ROI of right about 17 months. 17 months that capital investment has been paid for. You can then look at that and evaluate it against your cost of employees to better balance out the reality that it's not very expensive to get yourself into automation. It's not much more expensive than the cost of having a skilled employee. And then finally, as we kind of just discussed, you've got to consider the overall improvements that will occur. So we mentioned quality, consistency of work. So, weld quality and consistency today should be the same as tomorrow. Will be the same as next week or next year when you run that part again. And an efficiency that ideally you're hitting your cycle time deliverables and putting X number of parts off that machine each and every day. That's something you can count on, rain or shine, where with employees, there's a variable there that you can't always dictate, whether it be illness, whether it be pandemic. There is definitely a benefit that alleviates some of that expense when you look at automation. The next myth is also an interesting one to hear, and it comes up a lot, that the size of your business is too prohibitive to even consider robotic automation. And in this one, I can understand a little more. I think, again, the perception is that small businesses need to rely on simpler processes, and making big investments is not the norm. I do have to factually say that you don't have to be automotive scale. You have to be nowhere near automotive scale to justify a robotic solution. As a matter of fact, a lot of our customers are small to medium-sized facilities, a lot of job shops that do small part run, multi-part demand, and are very successful at it. I think the next justification for the size is that pre-engineered cells offer a very broad versatility. And as I mentioned before, a low cost of entry. You don't have to get into something that is going to trap you, so that when you move on to a new project or get a new opportunity, you have to consider making a new investment again. The work cells themselves are highly configurable and flexible for all part types. And I'm going to show you a little later a variety of solutions that you can look at based on the type of business you run and the type of work you expect to get into. But being too small, you can still buy solutions that offer you a lot of flexibility and allow you to go in a variety of directions with current work or new work that help to easily justify the investment into the world of robotic welding. And like I said earlier, a lot of our users are small to medium-sized facilities. A lot of new users who have gone through this same path to evaluate whether or not they needed to make that jump. Multi-part, small volume manufacturers, I feel like, are our bread and butter. They do a lot of work, and we have designed equipment around being flexible to that market style and making it easily justifiable to make the investment. And then again, a constant you're going to see across the board what robotic automation brings in the sense of quality and efficiency and labor savings, just further justify that investment, that it is a very low risk if you're in the business of robotic welding or any automation. Our next myth: robotic automation takes people's jobs. Less of a business myth and more of a myth that comes up when you're talking to those operators. When you're going in, pitching a solution, or maybe even talking within your own company about making that move, certainly the first concern you're going to hear is robots are taking people's jobs. I thoroughly enjoy having this discussion with those individuals. I completely see it the other way. I think the first thing that happens when you bring automation into your facility is you create opportunity. You create growth for new jobs that probably pay better, should pay better than what folks are doing now. If you're a skilled welder, the opportunity to put a teach pendant in your hand and learn to apply that skill with a robot makes you even more powerful. And I think the fact that people feel that robots take jobs, instead I feel like they create so many more opportunities to manage and support a technical product that people often avoid recognizing. As a business though, automation allows you to start reallocating resources to other areas. You know, if you've got twice as many people on a job than you want to, and you can automate some of that and reduce that count, or even eliminate that count, and put those resources somewhere else that your business is struggling with, it absolutely is beneficial. It provides a lot of flexibility and allows you to put people where the business actually needs them and not focus on things that can be automated. Certainly from the perspective of automation, the injury reduction is certainly a relevant topic. Not that your folks are doing things that put them in harm's way, but in the nature of welding, there's certainly a lot of redundant work or fatigue creating work that maybe as the day progresses, you know, you've got an efficient operator in the morning, but by lunch and after, they're less efficient, they're less attentive, and certainly more apt to put themselves in harm's way. Automation helps eliminate that. Robots don't get tired. The fourth point is resource. We talk about robotic automation as a myth taking people's jobs, but the reality is the people aren't out there to support those jobs. As you can see here, the average welder age as of last year is trending towards 40 to 42 years old. Now, the other study that's been done by AWS is that the shortage of welders by the year 2024 will be close to 400,000. Now, some of that is not that we're outgrowing welders completely. There's always a need for manual welding. But as we get into some of this, the reality is welding's a hard field and it's not as appealing to a younger generation. And some of that is going to create resource challenges on your company's side to try and attract replacement resources as an aging workforce begins to depart. Automation certainly is a complementary piece to that, and hopefully one that can help you balance out those skill changes or skill shortages that you're going to face in the upcoming years. So just as a reminder to those of you listening to this session, to use the live chat function on your screen if you've got any comments or questions regarding any of the information I've discussed so far. So the next myth is that robotic automation is just too advanced for my business. I've got no way to support robotic automation. My skill level here is not going to be able to support it. It is just going to be over our heads. That myth is completely false. What you get in a pre-engineered solution from us is a simple basic design. As we already discussed before, you've got a low barrier to entry when it comes to cost. So the next logical concern point would be, all right, I can buy it at a reasonable price, but can I run it at a reasonable price? Can I maintain it at a reasonable price? And our designs are designed to be configured in a way that allow them to be simplistic to the operator. And then, of course, we put a lot of training time in to make sure we're providing you with quality operators. Our class structure is intended to be small. We've got a lot of practical exercise and not a lot of theory. The idea being hands-on pendants, doing practical things are much more applicable. And we want your operators to depart our facility, come back and be able to handle that machine without needing us there all the time. The third point in being an advanced, too advanced, is that we provide weld support from our applications team to help make your system operational. Obviously, once you make that investment, the key from your end is make me money, plain and simple. We do that in a couple different ways. One, on the front end, we do the development side. We discuss the ROI, but we also assess the feasibility. Is your part feasible to be welded by a robot? Is it practical? You know, are there concern points with regard to reach or your fixturing or your upstream processes? The second is that same team can help on the back end. We offer programming support on the tail end, whether it be at our site or at your site, to ensure that the system that shows up has a part program loaded in, you provide power and the fixture in the part, and you're making money. Those are both options. The idea being, make it simple on your team, make it simple on your business, get things moving quickly as we drive your skill and support capabilities within the business. Certainly no business is complete without 24/7 support. I obviously can be a little biased that I think our technical team does a fantastic job at being always available. With that support, the idea is being able to talk to people that understand what your operators and engineers are experiencing. We do that by having our technical team available all the time by phone, and then also located regionally to help support if problems require that we come on site. The idea being, take the concern of the product being too advanced for my business and help you as a customer adapt to what certainly is going to be something different, but make it as minimally painful and as rewarding as possible once you start to drive skills and ownership inside your business to adapt to robotic automation. So if I've done my part, the big question going on in your head right now would be, so where do I begin? We've talked about a bunch of myths, trying to convert you into all the reasons that it makes sense to steer your business into or expanding your robotic automation. The next question might be, so what kind of solution is right for me? What is best for my business, the types of parts I do, or maybe even where I want to take my business? So we'll quickly go through just a few of the foundation pre-engineered solutions that DAIHEN has. The Ecowork 200 series to me is your traditional small part, highly versatile work cell. It is one of those work cells that sort of creates the entry point into a turnkey work cell. It provides you with a multitude of solutions, as you see here. You know, you've got stationary tables. You've got in the bottom center, you can put headstocks. In the upper right, you can put tilt turn positioners. You can do one or the other. You can have pneumatic shutter doors on the front for station access. You can have manual sliding doors. You can have roller doors. You can use fence, which is very common for guarding. You can have hard barrier walls like sheet metal. The robot configurations that can go inside can be whatever is needed. The cells go wide, the cells go deep. They have a ton of variety that allows you to truly customize without really customizing to your needs. We consider a lot of this to be highly modular. You know, a lot of these things exist, and it's just a matter of putting pieces together to build what you need to have built. So as I pull up this model of the Ecowork 200 Basic, you can kind of get a better 3D representation and understanding of the general layout. Two station operator positions at the front of the cell, work side to side. We offer the options again. You can put two tables, very traditional for small part, simple part, top side located weld seams. But if you need to put in a positioning device or a tilt turn, highly configurable. Everything mounts on a common base. All safety and guarding is included. Your weld package and robot package obviously already included. Very economical entry-level solution that allows you to get up and running in automation very, very simply. Our next solution is a ServoArc series. It is a 60-inch or 72-inch servo-driven turntable. The objective with that design is that it provides you a two-station, single-point load and unload configuration. In this example, you're seeing both the basic configuration, which has floor-mounted fencing and the robot and the positioner on a common base, and the ServoArc 720, which you see at the top right, which offers a common base platform. The idea is everything is mounted, it's picked up and delivered, put on your floor, all connections are already made, nothing has to be connected, you drop power, and you're ready to weld parts. The advantage with something like this is, obviously you grow in your part size, and the convenience from the operator's perspective of being able to stay in one location for loading and unloading. You've got staging areas inside the load area for sub-assembly or sub-component parts. And as you can see with the 3D rendering of our ServoArc 720 Basic, very modular, very simplistic setup, runs off a very simplistic op box. There's no reason to make it more or less complicated. As long as your part can fit within half the table diameter and clears the swing diameter, this is a very entry-level economical solution. If your part size and part volume justify a servo-driven two-table station. And our final solution, which I feel is the most versatile of what we have, is the DT-ARC series. And it is designed around medium to large parts, medium to high volume. It is a solution that is highly customizable. When you look at maybe conventional layouts that we have here, it's a two-station, conventionally 180 degrees apart. In this case, you see one station with a head and tail stock, the other with a stationary table. Conventional setup might be two head and tail stocks. The reality is you can put any positioning device at either station. You can add multiple stations. You can add multiple widths, multiple swing diameters. We show light curtains, but you can have swing doors, you can have bifold doors, you can have roller curtains. This cell is designed in such a way that it's highly customizable to work around your particular needs and facility limitations. And the benefit there is it's the kind of solution, if you have parts that work in this part size and or variable part size demand, it offers a lot of capability in a very economical price. The goal there being provide a good solution that can be modified and amended down the road. If you start with something such as stationary tables and work into the requirement of positioning and rolling parts over to access upper and lower welds, the setup of the equipment itself accommodates that very nicely. Here you kind of look, again, a 3D rendering of what we were showing on the screen. This is sort of the very conventional way that our DT-ARC family is set up. But if you need to alter station location, this is 180 degrees. We have 120 degree versions. We have 90 degree versions. So it provides a tremendous amount of flexibility. And the fact that you're guarding the workstation with fencing really provides a lot of flexibility in how you need to lay out the hardware and then come in and safeguard the device after the fact. So just a reminder, if you have any questions on any of these pre-engineered cells, please feel free to use your live chat to talk to any of our technical experts who are available to answer questions now, or stick around after the session and talk to one of us one-on-one with more detail. We have a lot of information that can be made available, and we'd be happy to discuss anything with you. So now that you're ready to take the next step, what do you need to do? First thing is, information is key. The more we know about your application, the more we know about your own business expectations and needs, the better we can find a solution or develop a solution with you that works for you. I encourage you during that process, ask a lot of questions. There's no harm in asking a lot of questions. The more you ask and the more we know about your application, I think the better the final solution is once it arrives. Something I always have to warn about when people progress into pre-engineered cells are avoid the option overload. Everybody wants to buy everything. Now's the time to throw it all in and get it packaged. The reality is if you're new to this game, you don't want a bunch of options. You want practical solutions. You want practical pieces that make sense, but know your budget. Don't add things in that don't make sense for what you're doing right now. The reality is once you start using that equipment, all those options probably sit there unless you're using them from day one. You want to be flexible. A lot of options can be added on after the fact, but absolutely make sure that you're justifying your ROI around what you're doing now. Utilize our team. You know, we've got an excellent support staff from our front-end technical sales team to our welding specialists, our engineering staff, and our service team, all here to make sure that you have a solid experience front to end. We want to evaluate the parts that you want to weld. We want to understand what your process is and how we can improve it. And we want to use that information to help customize the solution that works for you. The most important part, you aren't cookie cutter. And I say that while we have catalog solutions, if it doesn't fit your need, adjust it. There's nothing worse than jamming a cookie cutter solution into an environment that needs something else. Cookie cutter solutions are nice. I'm not saying that we don't have them, but in a lot of cases, most of the equipment that we provide has been modified in some way, shape, or form. In most cases, to just fit the particular business. Absolutely utilize the base capability, the base platform of equipment that we have. But if customization is needed, configure that solution for your process and your need. I'd like to thank you all for attending and participating in our 2020 virtual Fab Tech event. We are very sad that we were unable to hold a Fab Tech event this year, and are glad that you're able to come out and at least participate and hear about some of the great things going on at OTC DAIHEN. I want to remind you, if there are any questions or further information about topics that I've covered or about topics I haven't covered but you've got questions on, to join us in the post-show video chat room, where we continue to have discussions on anything related to DAIHEN products from this session or anything else. We'll have a technical team available there to help support, and would love to have a further conversation with you. Thanks again.